This conference will now be recorded.
Hello guys, welcome to Kumar Consulting. So guys, once again I'm back with a interview question. So here in this session, first of all look at the question and then I'll show the answer also and I'll explain practically. Okay, so the question is, what is the difference between tax type and tax code? What is the difference between tax type and tax code? So if anybody, whenever the interviewer is going to ask these questions, almost everybody is going to give some diplomatic answer, and that is not acceptable. In just one line or half line, people will give certain reply and all, right? So I think the similar reply will be given by everybody. So if everybody are going to give a similar kind of replies and all, then what is the difference between you people and those people, right? So you have to give some unique answer. Now, so I'll just I have pointed out some common differences which will be quite easy for you guys to explain during interview, and practically also I'm going to show those differences so that it will be quite easy for you guys to remember, and even like if the understanding is there, then only you guys will be more and more confident during interview. So look at the answers guys. Here I have specified the answers also, and these are the answers here. So the first difference is I've specified here, tax type determine the base amount for tax calculation. This base amount could be gross amount, net amount, tax amount, etc. And tax code determine what the percentage for the tax calculation. It means the percentage rate for tax calculations, right? Yeah, I have to specify rate for tax calculation. Now, if we talk about any sort of taxes and all, then the first thing which comes in our mind is what percentage, right? In the sense, what is the tax rate? Now, let's suppose the tax rate is like, let's suppose I said 10%. Okay, this tax rate is 10%. Now, again, the next question will be there in your mind that this tax 10% is going to be calculated on which amount, right? This 10% is going to be calculated on which amount, right? So I'll just tell you. Now let's suppose it's going to be like we are having an invoice. We are having an invoice worth of 1,000 rupees. Okay, this is your invoice amount. This is your invoice amount. Okay, I'll just. This is your invoice amount. So this 10% is going to be calculated on which amount? Let's suppose it is going to be calculated on invoice amount. So this is called base amount. On which amount, guys? The tax is going to be, or whichever amount the tax is going to be calculated, guys, that is called base amount. So I'll just do one thing. Here, this is invoice amount, right? Now let's suppose we are having GST also. GST input. That is 12%. So it will be 120, right? I have to convert this. It is 120 rupees. This is your input GST. Now I have just kept GST itself. Now, so this invoice we have received. How much? 1,000 is the invoice amount and 12% GST. 12% GST. So total worth of 1120. Total worth of 1120 rupees invoice we have received. Now, if you post this invoice, then while posting this invoice, we must have to deduct the this one TDS also. Okay. So here, let's suppose 10% TDS is going to be deducted. Okay, this 10% TDS is going to be deducted. Now the question is, this 10% TDS is going to be deducted on which amount? Okay, I told you guys the amount on which tax is going to be calculated is called base amount. Okay, tax will be calculated on which amount, guys? Base amount. So let's suppose 10% TDS is going to be calculated on which amount, right? So what is the base amount for this 10% calculations? So if I say the base amount is this one, 1000, right? So here the TDS will be 100, right? And there might be a chances that base amount could be this both. Okay, this is called, let's suppose, net amount, and if you include both, then this is called gross amount. I'll show you guys. Okay, so this 10% TDS, if you say like, if the base amount is net amount, then it is going to be calculated on 1000. If the base amount is gross amount means this invoice amount plus GST, so it is 1120. In that case, what will happen, guys? Then the tax is going to be, it will be around 112, I guess, right? 112. This is the TDS is going to be deducted. Even we are having some other options also. I'll show you guys practically. Okay. Okay, I think this it's there. Okay. So I'll just do one thing, guys. Okay, so here SPRO. And let me expand this financial accounting new. Financial accounting global setting. And here we are having, okay, withholding tax, extended withholding tax. And here we are having calculations. So here, tax type. Now, give you a country code. And I have already defined a tax type. This T5 I'm going to use. So look at here, guys, the base amount. Okay, base amount. So base amount is like here net amount, gross amount, right? Tax amount. Now, so we'll have a look on this one by one. Okay, if we are going to select here net amount. Okay, so now let me do one thing. Okay, so first of all, F is 0. I have to make certain settings, guys, so that I can show you all the example almost. Let me give certain. So now what will happen, guys? Then this is how we are going to apply certain, GST. Okay. So now I'm going to take example of this scenario itself. Okay. If the base amount is net amount means this one, right? Net amount means excluding tax amount, right? So here, this is. Now, so TDS is how much, guys? 100 rupees supposed to be deductions. The deduction is supposed to be 100 rupees. Use transaction code FP60 and take example of any company code. Just I'm going to use some vendor and here give. Okay, so 1000 rupees, guys, and 1000 rupees plus 120 will be the GST, so it will be 1120, and here rent account 1000 and give your tax amount, that is T1. This one I have already defined. It's okay. So I guess somebody had changed the tax procedure or what? Let me check. So be busy. Okay, so here mine is TM01. Let me save it. So once again, FB60 guys. Okay, so here T1 and simulate. Just press enter. So look at here guys, now what is happening? Your rent amount 1000, right? That is going to be debited. And GST input, that is 120. This is also going to be debited. Okay. Now here, okay, so now, okay, so if you talk about TDS deductions, okay, so TDS 10% is getting deducted, guys. I have defined a tax code and the percentage is 10%. So this 10% is going to be deducted, and that too on net amount. What we have here, if you are able to see, look at here, it's T5. I'll just show you guys, even tax code also I have defined with a T5 itself. Okay, here let me execute. So now T5, the tax code is also T5 itself, and 10% tax rate I have specified, right? So now this 10% deduction is going to happen on which amount, guys? So we have specified here, this 10% deduction is going to happen on net amount, right? It is on net amount. So now net amount means what, guys? As I said, invoice amount and GST. So here invoice amount only will be treated as a net amount, and on that 10% deduction means 100 rupees, right? Now, if you are going to change, make it gross amount and save it, okay? And I have a script, guys, this one modified net amount and modified tax amount also, because for this some additional configurations required, guys. We'll have to set up processing key and all. Okay, so we are not going to go in that details because videos will be lengthy. Now, so I'll give some very easy, what to say, examples and explanations so that it will be easy for you guys to explain during interview. Okay. Now, so here net amount we have already checked. If you're going to click on gross amount, then what will happen, guys? Gross amount means your invoice amount including GST, including the tax amount. Okay, so we'll see the example once again. Here, first of all, I've selected this gross amount. Let me save it. So now, so the base amount is changed, right? In the sense, base amount is changed in the sense, now the tax is going to be calculated on which amount? It will be on gross amount, right? So now, once again, we are going to, so now if it is, let's suppose, now the tax calculation will happen on which amount, guys? The tax calculation will happen on both. Gross amount means 1000 plus 20. So here the 10% TDS means 112. This much TDS is supposed to be deducted, right? In that case, your vendor is going to be credited. These both amounts are debit, right? This is debit. This is also debit. Now, this is going to be credited 1112. So your vendor is going to be credited with how much, guys? 1008. This much rupees, right? I'll just show you guys. This is just a simple accounting entry. Nothing is there in that, guys. Look at here. Now here. So your TDS, sorry, rent amount debited with 1000, GST input also 120, and on this 1000 and 120, what is the TDS which has been deducted, guys? 10%. of 1120 rupees. So it is 1112. Now whatever remaining amount is there, with that amount only vendor is going to be credited. So this is 1008. So it happens when we are going to select here gross amount, right? So guys, if you talk about in both cases, what is happening? The percentage is same. The tax percentage is same, but the condition for this tax calculation is getting changed, right? Initially, we said like net amount. So net amount is a different conditions where we have a given a kind of instruction to the system that if it is going to be net amount means what? This amount only. Gross amount means this invoice amount plus GST. Even we are having options like if you're going to select this tax amount, then what will happen? Save it. I'll just show you. In that case, TDS is going to be calculated on this tax itself, GST itself, right? Even this net amount is also going to be excluded. So on 120, again 10% tax percentage will be always same, guys. There is no changes. In every cases, look at here 10%, 10%, but the calculation amount, base amount is getting changed every time. Right now, the base amount is 120. It means the tax is going to be calculated on 120 itself. So what is the 10% of 120, guys? Only 12 rupees. Why not to test it? So now here, once again, well, so here, okay. Now, click on simulate. Okay. So here, what is happening, guys? Now look at here. The tax is TDS is getting calculated on this tax amount, GST input, right? So now here, what is happening? What I have said here in PPT, I said the tax type determine the base amount for tax calculation. That is, base amount could be anything, guys, either gross amount, net amount, tax amount, etc. Right? Whereas tax code determine the tax percentage rate for tax percentage or percentage rate for the tax calculation. These are the two major differences. Now, then, sorry, this is the first one, and then second one, it also determines the rounding rule. It also determines rounding rule means I'm talking about tax type. Tax type also determines the rounding rule to make the tax amount in round figure. I'll tell you guys now. Let's suppose if you're having, look at your rounding rule. We are having, here is the rounding rule. What is this rounding rule, guys? This rounding rule means this is the rounding rule, right? Now, so if you want to know more about this rounding rule, here what is happening? Let's suppose if your tax amount, let's suppose your tax amount is, this is the amount 0.26. Okay, so here what is happening, guys? This is going to be converted into round figure. Round figure based on this rounding rule. Round figure means how much it is? It is 1215 will be the round figure, right? Or is even 1216 also will be round figure, guys. Okay, so here it will be 1215 itself. This is going to be the round figure. Okay, here we are having three different kind of rounding rules, guys. This is called common round. This is called arithmetic rounding rule also, in the sense like, or common rounding rule. So here what is happening, guys? It means till 0 to 0.49, system is going to count as 0 itself. Okay, not 0, actually we can say from 0.01, from 0.01, okay, from 0.01 till 49, system is going to count as 0. Okay, so look at here. So 0.26 is there, so it will fall under this one, so 0 will be there. So now what is happening, guys? It is 1215 will be there, right? Plus 0, it will be this much only. Now here from 0.5 till 0.99 is going to be counted as 1. It means it's the same amount we are having here, 62.62. Okay, in that case, what will happen, guys? Now 62 means it is falling under this category, right? 0.5 in the sense you can assume 0.50 I'm talking about, right? So this is falling under 62.60 is falling under this one. So 1, this much is going to be counted as a 1. So 1 plus 115 rupees plus 1, it is going to be 1216 rupees, right? And again, the same thing here, round up in the sense amount up means whether it is this much 0.1 or 0.99, in that case, in every case, system is going to add 1, and vice versa for this amount down. So this rounding rule is also going to be determined by what, guys? It also determines the rounding rule to make the tax amount in round figure, right? Let me back from this one. Okay, so now the second one is tax type determines the rounding rule to make the tax amount in round figure. Now, what about the tax code, guys? Tax code determines percentage subject to tax. Okay, now what is this percentage subject to tax, guys? If you guys are able to remember, now here percentage subject to tax. Okay, let's suppose I am saying that here this 10% TDS calculations, forget about these things now, and I'm going to remove this amount also. Now I'm saying that here 10%, it means 100 rupees. Okay, so if it is net amount, if let's suppose your base amount is net amount in that case. Now let's suppose the base amount is net amount itself. Now there is one more conditions, like what is the portion of the net amount is subject to tax. Sometimes people says that only 75%, not only 75% of the base amount will be subjected to tax, or is only 50% of the base amount is subjected to tax. So here this is the base amount, guys, 1000. Let's suppose 1000 is the base amount. I'll just do one thing here, make it net amount itself. Okay, so now if we say that how much this 10% TDS is going to be deducted, now it also this tax code also determine what is the percentage, what percentage of the base amount is subjected to tax, which portion of the base amount is going to be treated as a, like, on which portion of the base amount the tax is going to be deducted. Let's suppose I say like base amount, percentage subject to tax is 50%. It means what is the 50% of base amount, guys? Here 1000 is there. The 50% of 1000 is how much? 500. So now the tax is going to be calculated on 500 only. It means the 10% TDS of which amount? 500. So how much it is? 50 rupees only, right? I'll just do one thing, guys. If you look at here, now I've shown here right now base amount is net amount. It means that is your invoice amount. Come back. And here I said like tax code determine the tax percentage. Apart from this, it also determines, look at here, percentage subject to tax. Okay, percentage subject to tax in the sense what percentage of base amount, look at here also it is written base amount, right? What percentage of base amount is subject to tax. So here if I say 50% of base amount is subject to tax, Let me save it. Okay, here I have given 50%. It means what? 50% of base amount is subject to tax. Now I will just do one thing once again. Let me give the random number. Okay, don't be confused with this amount, guys. If you guys are having a perfect understanding of tax on sales purchase, okay, then you'll come to the logic behind this, because here at header level amount is different. Anyway, now here, okay, so now TDS. If you talk about TDS calculation, then now TDS is going to be calculated on this amount, but 50% of this amount. 50% of this amount. So what is the 50% of 1000, guys? It is 500 only. 50% of 1000 is 500 only. So now on this 500, the 10% TDS is going to be deducted. I've shown you guys. On this 500, this 10% TDS, this 10% is going to be deducted. So how much tax TDS supposed to be deducted? Only 50 rupees. I'll just do one thing, click on simulate, and let's see, guys, whether it is getting calculated or not. So look at here, yes, 50 rupees. Why? Because the base amount is 1000, right? Base amount for tax calculation is 1000, but of this base amount of this thousands, only 50% is subjected to tax. So what is the 50% of this base amount, guys, or so-called 1000 rupees? So it is 500. On 500 only system is going to calculate this TDS. So the second important thing what I have specified, that tax code also determines the percentage subject to tax, in the sense which person of what person or what percentage of your base amount is subject to tax is also going to be determined by tax code. Okay, and your tax type, I specified that it's going to determine the rounding rule. Rounding rule in the sense, like after, like whatever the tax amount is, their system is going to make it a round figure. Okay, now the third one, under one tax type, multiple tax code can be set up, but vice versa is not possible. I'll tell you guys, let's suppose here, look at here, withholding tax type. Tax type I have given here, and then under that we have set up this T5, a tax code. Now again, if you want to set up, let's suppose again T5, right? T5, and now I'm going to set up T6. Okay, T6. So if you want to set up 100%, now instead of 10%, now I'm going to give 5%. Press enter. Still there is no issues and all. And if you want to save, you can save. Control S. Look at here. So under one tax type, we can set up multiple tax code, but vice versa is not possible. So what is happening, guys? What is the benefit here? Let's suppose I'm having T5, that is your tax type. Okay, under that I'm having, like, let's suppose T5 as a tax code, T6 is there, T7 is there, T8 is there. Okay, so this is your tax type and this is your tax code. Okay, so now if you talk about this tax type, it is always there, it stands a kind of higher in terms of hierarchy level, right? Because under one tax type, multiple tax code can be created, but vice versa is not possible. So here it means, okay, now, so it means these all tax codes has been or have been set up, codes have been set up against a particular tax type, right? So under one tax type, multiple tax code can be set up. This is for 10%. Okay, here this is for, let's suppose, 10%. This is for 5%. This is for 2%. Let's suppose this is for 8%. So different percentage. Every tax code is having different percentage. But since all the tax code has been set up against a particular tax type, so if we talk about the base amount for tax calculation will be same. If I'm going to select, look at here, I'm having P6. So at tax type level, if you select net amount for this tax calculation, then whichever these tax codes are there, for every tax code the same what to say the setting is applicable. Okay. If you talk about like gross amount, on gross amount, this is going to be, in the sense TDS is going to be calculated. It means that is applicable for all tax percentage, in the sense for all tax code. Okay, so under one tax type we can set up multiple. Under one tax type we can set up multiple tax code, right? But vice versa is not possible. Now the last one, in the sense fourth one, tax type is set up at country level but assigned to company code. I'll tell you guys, whenever you are going to set up a tax type, always it is going to be set up at country level. Keep in your mind. Okay, here if you click on define withholding tax, system is asking the first thing, country key. It means it is set up at country level only. But even if you look at the further what to say configurations, then we are having here assign withholding tax type to your company code, right? So whichever tax type you have set up, those tax types are going to be assigned. Those tax types, this tax type is going to be assigned where? It is going to be assigned against company code. So tax type is going to be assigned against company code. Okay, if your company code is, let's suppose PM01, then against this company code, what is happening, guys? The tax type is going to be assigned. Whereas, look at here, tax code is also set up at country level itself. If you are going to set up a new tax code, there also system is going to ask country code. Look at here. But whenever you set up the tax code, always it is going to be set up against a particular tax type. So now what I said here, that tax type is set up at country level, but it is assigned to company code. Whereas tax code is also set up at country level itself, but this is assigned to tax type. Okay, so these are the four major differences, guys, which can be explained very easily, pretty easily during interview. Okay, these four differences, I'll repeat once again. Like if you talk about tax type determines the base amount, right, for the tax calculations, and this base amount could be anything like gross amount, net amount, tax amount, right? Whereas the tax code consists of, or it's going to determine the percentage rate, what percentage of tax is going to be deducted. At the same time, now tax type, it also determines the rounding rule, whereas the tax code, this determines the percentage subject to tax, in the sense what percent of your base amount is subjected to tax, what percentage of the base amount is subjected to tax. Now the third one is, under one tax type multiple tax code can be set up, right? Against one tax type we can set up multiple tax code, but vice versa is not possible. Why vice versa is not possible? It means against what to say tax code, one tax code we cannot set up multiple what to say this tax type and all. Now the fourth one is tax type. Tax type is set up at country level, but it is assigned to the company code. Tax type is going to be assigned to the company code, whereas tax code is also set up at country level itself, but this is going to be assigned to the tax type. I have already shown, guys, whenever you are going to set up this tax code is always set up against this tax type itself, right? So these are The four major differences which can be explained, guys. If you talk about the differences and all, there are multiple differences. Countless differences will be there for each and every field. There is certain use and all, right? Look at here. We are having one field called this withholding tax form. Now, what is the use of this one? For this one, again, a separate session. If I started explaining this one, it's going to take a separate session, because this is going to be used for if you define certain formula for withholding tax calculations, TDS calculations. Formula in the sense certain criteria will be there. The tax is going to be calculated, like if the amount is from this much to this much, then this much percentage will be there. If the amount is from this range to this range, then this much percentage will be there. Likewise, certain conditions are there. So in that case, what is happening, guys? We have to define the formula, and for that we have to then we are having the use of this field, right? So likewise, we are having several differences, guys. Can be if you started explaining, but the thing is, uh, better to explain in the easiest way, okay? Because during interview, what is happening? The interviewer is going to derive the questions from your answer itself. So whatever I have explained is quite easy to understand and quite easy to explain at your level. Okay. So these are the four major differences, guys, which you can note it down and keep in your mind, and everything I have explained practically, so I think it will be easy to understand. So that's all, guys. That's all in this segment. That's all in this session. See you again with a new topic. Till then, just bye-bye.